Hey everyone, so I haven't done one of these in a little while, and it turns out stalking Koreans for the new builds we did last week wasn't enough for me, so I had to go through 800 profiles in Challenger and Grandmaster to find you lot some weird ones that you don't see every day. Before I get myself arrested, some of these are ultra weird, some of them are kind of like middle-ish, I guess, but you still won't find them very often at all. And just a reminder, before I get DMs telling me how much they love my mother last night, just because they play them in Challenger Ranked doesn't mean they'll instantly work for you, so please test them in normals first. With that out of the way, we're going to get into our first one. Might as well start with the weirdest of the video, which is Zilean top lane, press attack, Nashor's on here build. So he rushes Wit's End or Nashor's Tooth, but those are the two core items of the build. It seems to depend on the game, and he seems to be testing both. It's actually not that bad. When you stick these two together, it's pretty good. Nashor's gives like 80 AP, a 20% cooldown reduction, and the on here. It actually scales with other AP that you have in your kit. Attack speed might seem really weird, right? But with your E, you do have a huge slow, so in the theory, you can stop them getting away or near you, and you just go and auto them to death. Wit's End is another 50% attack speed, so you have 100% here. It's actually a lot, 50 magic resist and some move speed. You do have a huge amount of on-hit damage as well from Wit's End, and then you add in the Nashors afterwards. Now, normally there is some really good like innate synergy within the champion and stuff, but I'm not going to lie, there isn't really that much apart from press attack. You're going to deal 8 to 12% more damage, including all of that on hit damage as well, and that's probably the reason that it works. You actually get like tank items after this, so like Deadman, stuff like that. You're basically going to endlessly kite people, stun them, slow them, revive yourself, speed up maybe as well, and auto to do a ton of damage. Your runes outside of that are Tank Shred with Cut Down, Apprentice of Mine to get you some more mana, and then Time Warp Tonic as well to make your Corrupting Potion even better, because that also is actually a fair bit of damage. Next one I have seen a lot, and this is maybe a sleeper OP pick that's coming soon with pros like Gorilla actually playing it, and that is Rumble support. It seems really weird, and I kind of guess like if it wasn't, it wouldn't be in this video, but you max your E first for the poke, and you take Relic Shield as well, so they get the health back and with some AP. Your E is your Harpoon, if you didn't know, and it actually has really high base damage, plus the slow increases more with the rank, so you're actually going to do quite a lot, and it's actually pretty good to chase people down. They rush their Salt Boots and Oblivion Orb, same as a normal Rumble, and the reason you do it is because it's basically close to 0 magic resist for 80 carries that face there. When you add the two together and how little magic resist 80 carries actually have in the game, it's basically like his ultimate doing 840 true damage and 210% of his AP on top of that as well. I'm not saying the pick is so strong that they're always going to do this, but check these damage graphs from a few of Crazy's games, who is a pro player, I believe, over in Korea. So we got top damage in the win without a complete item, by the way, as well. A second in the loss, but still pretty high for that game. Rumble only needs 1 to 2 items to hit really hard, and it's kind of like a Zyra with the new support items. He can get them faster in lane because he's not spending gold on a support item for income. You've got Soul on your E, you have really good damage, you have a slow, engage, and damage with your ultimate as well. So even though he isn't designed as a support, his kit can sort of be used in a utility way as well as damage, and that's why it works. I don't know what it is right now either, but I'm seeing a lot of Taric when I go through these match histories. And let me know in the comments if you're seeing more as well, but he is everywhere. Support, which we'll also get to in a second, but it's actually a lot of jungle. So a lot of different people seem to be doing this, but most seem to be doing Glacial, Press Attack, or Conqueror. Taric jungle has been in a video like this before, I'm sure it has, and it's not that bad since the Cinderhulk buffs as well that came in this season. He's really tanky, you've got good frontline, you've got decent-ish ganks, like you get in range to shield and you stun somebody through your ally, so he might be slow, but they're not. Late game as well, he provides a huge frontline tank, stun, shield, heals with his ultimate as well, and to be honest, he probably has a better kit than most jungle tanks that we have in the game. He also scales really well with items, better than most supports, because your passive, your W, your E, they all get better with the more armor you have, and his hit is actually better with more health. So most people go Cinderhulk into Visage and then armor items as well. It basically makes you unkillable, and then you can protect the rest of your team and just absorb a ton of damage. It isn't just jungle Taric. I've seen a lot of support and a lot of Conqueror Taric support, which is very strange. It does stack pretty quick with your passive, so you deal a massive chunk of damage there, and you heal as well, I guess is a little bit of it. But after each spell, you gain 2 basic attacks at 100% attack speed that do more damage, right? So you just shield and heal, and that's Conqueror fully stacked, and you're going to slap. The guy I found doing this, the one we're going to look at, actually duo queues with a Kindred bot lane. This makes even more sense actually, because the way they do it is they use a Taric ult into Kindred ultimate, and it takes forever to kill them. It takes them a bit longer, but during the invulnerability, they get the enemy low by bashing them with Conqueror, then they shield, heal, and stun all the same time as a Kindred ult runs out, and they burst quicker after that, so they win the fights. If you're not just after the Taric support, you want to run this as a duo with a friend of yours as a Kindred, then Kindred bot has been a little cheese strat for the last few months in Challenger in Korea. There is a 700 plus LP Charlie doing this right now, so here is his setup. if you want to try it. So it goes Infinity Edge, Essence Reaver into Runins, maxes Q out first, which gets down to a 2-second cooldown and uses 65% of all that AD in Infinity Edge and Essence Reaver that you built. Runins is going to apply a ton of damage, airy crits, really nice. It seems very troll because of the mark system, but actually it's very good bot lane, especially with the Taric apparently. The only other AD carry that I really saw that was different, well, I saw a lot of them going Halo Blades on like Tristana, Kai'Sa, and loads of different stuff, but also on Draven. They sometimes also go exhaust with this, especially on Tristana, but the idea is that you dive on in, you burst, exhaust while you pummel them with Halo Blades and kill them before it runs out. Now there are also a lot of people running this weird build with Mana Immune first on Draven that I think we looked at like last year, sometime in Season 9, but they go Mana Immune first, Lethality, or sometimes even both. Now Mana Immune actually is not that bad for Draven. It means you can spam out your W cast constantly, trade a bit more aggressively as well, and then Lethality means that you hit like an absolute truck. It can be Duskblade, but often actually this guy goes Sanguine Blade. It's AD, it's lifesteal, which obviously you really need. Lethality, and it makes you better when you're just chasing down random people in side lanes, which I guess you can kind of do as Draven. You can also run this though as a Halo Blaze side with the standard Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster, and it works in pretty much the same way. Like you attack really fast to start combat and you execute them before they even get a chance to react or fight back. Prescient Attack and Conqueror are better versus anybody with higher health. They just flat out way better, but Halo Blaze would literally turn you into an assassin, and that is why you'd want to do it. Next up, I'm going to kind of combine two in one. So you've got set support popping up across Korea, really good, and then also Omnistone. So Omnistone is probably the worst design of Season 10. I feel like I can say that because it needs removing or replacing or something because nobody uses it at all. Now, some have used it on set as a support since he can use a bunch of the different options though, and being melee as well. It only has a 5 to 3 second cooldown, which is pretty much nothing. I'm not going to go into it too much because it's pretty much just one guy doing this. So we do see it sometimes on stuff like Bard as well. It's probably not as bad as we actually think it is, but there are just better options. Speaking of which, if you actually want to play set support, and you probably should because it's really good, then the other way of doing this is with Aftershock. This actually makes him viable. Like I genuinely think set support is pretty good. You're a huge beefy tank with really good damage. You max your W, get dead mans normally, and normal tank items, maybe support afterwards. Your ultimate and your E will proc your Aftershock, by the way. It lets you stack up your shield and then you unleash the true damage. So when you dive in, like you take basically nothing from the Aftershock and then you have a huge true damage shield. Later, you've got OK Peel if you kind of want to use it that way. Like you can stun frontline or you can ultimate them away, kind of protect your AD carry, though I'm not sure many people are going to do that. You've got really good backline access still, same as normal support, and you can do what a normal set does, right? Just without the damage side of things because you don't have the gold to get a Trinity Force or whatever you want. Next up is pretty cool. It seems like a Korean YouTuber, but he's a Zack one-trick that has over 700 LP from Conqueror Tank Hybrid AP top lane. I'm going to link what I think is his channel down below, so definitely go check it out. I'm sure most of you guys can't speak Korean. I can't either, but I'm sure you'll find the videos pretty cool. So Zack top was a phase, right? Seemed to die out in one patch. Everybody thought it was insane, and then nobody played it again. Again with Conqueror though, Zack is melee, so even if he's not a normal bruiser to use this, he can stack it up at the very start of a combo with auto attacks and abilities and get it online straight away. Because you stack it up so fast, it means not only do you get the damage, which is pretty nice, right? You get the healing on top of the healing from your passive. I don't know if this is exactly why, because obviously I can't check, but he rushes Visage most games and take Revitalize in his runes as well, which means you heal for way more than normal, and it makes a lot of sense. It basically forces the enemy to buy healing reduction or they're completely screwed. Like it slows down their build. There is no way they are going to be able to kill this Zack if they don't have some kind of healing reduction. He also sometimes rushes Proto Belt in what seems like easier matchups to do a bit more damage. He gets Storm Mail or other armor items in most games, and then Leandry's as well, like the burn damage for later, which is actually so good on Zack normally, even in the jungle. Speaking of that, you can also run this exact setup on Zack jungle if you want to do more damage and not just rely on your Aftershock. By the way, there are people doing that too, and it's actually really good. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the next one because 1, I hate it, I wish it didn't exist, and 2, you probably already know about it. Right now, someone is sitting in Grandmaster, soon to be Challenger, with a 65% win rate on Soraka top lane. Riot did kill this off, or they tried to, I guess, or they wanted to at least, but this guy runs Doran's Ring, rushes the Theans into stuff like Redemption and Visage. It was actually really hard to record footage for this one as background because he generally stays top lane, he tries to farm or not die, then just presses R whenever his team needs him and groups a little bit at the end of the game. It is still Q-Max, it's airy for poke, it's basically support Soraka just with a Doran's Ring star and shoving her top lane. It definitely shouldn't work, or I wish it wouldn't. The farm is not that good, but it still wins a lot of games. Like apparently this is just a cheating way to play top lane and get some easy LP. I know we have talked about Set support already, but I do want to talk about Set jungle a little bit because he is being used more in career right now, and most of the time it's actually with Phase Rush or with Conqueror. Phase Rush is pretty cool though, so this is a bit different. Hitting an enemy with 3 attacks or abilities grants you 30 to 50% move speed, which lets Set stick to the target and hit more with his passive. That is where a lot of your damage is, especially when you're building tank, but it's super easy to activate in the first phase with the passive damage that you have in the 1-2 punch. Set jungle is actually super good. You have really good farm speed. He has an insane win rate since his release. You're healthy, decentish ganks, and just a monster frontline. You don't tend to get damage on jungle Set just because you don't really have the gold for it. Like, you're not going to get as much as top lane. Trinity is a really expensive item, but tank still does a lot. Now, the other side of this I think is pretty cool as well is Phase Rush Maokai Jungle. Weird, I know, but in a similar way, you can proc this as soon as you dive in, and it lets you chase down your opponent, so there's absolutely no getting away. Considering you're Maokai and you're a tank, your farming actually is not that bad, especially after you get Cinderhulk, but you get insanely tanky, and that's kind of the point. Your ganks are not going to be as good as Zack, so that's why we don't really see him more, I guess, but that doesn't mean that he is insanely useful in teamfights, and once you reach a stage in the game, you're just not going to be able to be killed. You grab tank items, you grab your Protobell and Zhonya's if you're ahead. I'm not joking, by the way, it actually does that sometimes. You press your ultimate, you run them down with Nimbus Cloak, get even more speed with Phase Rush after, and that is the idea, and that is the point of the pick. So that is going to wrap up what I've found, and yes, I know it, you don't have to point it out. I'm sorry there is no mid laner in this video. I literally looked through everything, all 800 profiles. The weirdest thing I found was a Volibear mid with press attack, but he isn't even winning enough to make it into this video, and I don't want to recommend something that doesn't actually really work. Thank you for watching until the very end of the video, but for now, I will leave you with the robots.